We want to thank you all for joining us. Ambassador Erdan will deliver brief remarks, and then we'll take a few questions. Please remember to introduce your name and the outlet that you are from. Thank you so much.
Good morning. From well before the establishment of the UN, the Palestinians' goal has been clear: the annihilation of the Jews. Haj Amin al-Husseini, one of the founding fathers of Palestinian nationalism, worked hand in hand with Hitler to achieve this. I just presented the photo, the picture of both of them in the General Assembly during my speech. And from then until today, the root of this conflict has not changed. The Palestinians seek the destruction of Israel and the murder of Jews. The UN was established in the wake of World War II. This is the picture that I just presented on the stage. It only demonstrates one of their meetings, and this is something well known. The UN was established in the wake of World War II to prevent atrocities such as the Holocaust, but the same genocidal ideology that this body was founded to combat is still prevalent among the Palestinians. You have to be blind, like the UN, not to see it. We all saw it on October 7th in live action, but we also see it today with the Palestinian Authority. It's not only Hamas. President Abbas not only has not condemned the massacre, the Palestinian Authority is paying monthly salaries to all the terrorists that took part in the October 7th massacre. And today, the UN has committed itself to reinforcing modern-day Nazi jihadists. As we speak, the UN and the Security Council is breaking the Guinness World Record for rewarding terror. In complete violation of its charter, the UN is considering to force the establishment of a Palestinian terror state. This won't be a regular state. It will be a Palestinazi state, an entity that achieved statehood despite being committed to terror and Israel's annihilation. If Hitler was alive today, he would be singing the UN's praises. In a sane world, uncorrupted by despicable political interest, today, 6 months after the gates of hell were opened upon innocent Israelis, the UN would be holding a vigil for the victims and an international conference to secure the release of the hostages. Resolutions would be passed condemning Hamas. Until today, not even one. But sadly, we don't live in a sane world, and the UN is more morally corrupt than ever. 6 months have passed since the massacre, and not a single UN body, not the General Assembly, the Security Council, or any other UN organ has condemned Hamas, and not even one meeting has been dedicated to our hostages. Think about it. None of the resolutions adopted here conditioned a ceasefire on the release of the hostages. And a ceasefire with no conditions is the UN's assurance that Hamas can regroup, rearm, and recommit October 7th, just as they have vowed to do. 6 months have passed, and the Security Council is busy right now in discussing the recognition of a Palestinazi state, instead of designating Hamas as a terror organization. This will be the vilest reward for the vilest crimes. The very fact that this discussion is even being held is a victory for genocidal terror. And I'm asking you, all of you, be honest. Following 9/11, could anyone fathom giving Al-Qaeda international legitimacy and status? Throughout history, there has been no greater reward for evil. Let me remind everyone, the basic requirements for admission to the UN are A, permanent population, B, defined territory, C, government, and D, capacity to enter relations with other states. But a very important principle that was stated in Article 4 of the UN Charter is, and I quote, membership in the United Nations is open to all peace-loving states. Peace-loving states. And friends, nothing is clearer than the fact that the Palestinians failed to meet these criteria. The Palestinian Authority has absolutely no control over Gaza, nor in large parts of Judea and Samaria, where entire neighborhoods and even cities are ruled by other terrorist gangs. What this in itself is grounds enough to reject this seek reward for Palestinian terror. The Palestinian Authority is itself the exact opposite of a peace-loving entity. For many years, the PA has been paying terrorists for their murderous terror attacks. This is not customary. It is Palestinian legislation. According to the law, Palestinian terrorists are paid monthly salaries for murdering Israelis. These salaries can reach thousands of dollars each month, and they are on a rising scale. The longer the prison sentence, the higher the salary. You murder more Jews, you get more money. Sickening. The families of every Hamas terrorist killed on October 7th and since will begin receiving monthly payments, along with all the terrorists that Israel has arrested since October 7th. But granting the Palestinian statehood is not only a blatant violation of the UN Charter, it also violates the fundamental principle that everyone can understand of reaching a solution, a lasting solution at the negotiating table. There is nothing that perpetuates a conflict more than one side believing that they can force their demands on the other side through a third party. And this is exactly what the UN's discussion to unilaterally grant the Palestinians a state does. It perpetuates the conflict. From even before the UN was established, the Arabs refused to accept the notion of a Jewish state in any borders, here in 1947 and since. Each time a peace plan was tabled, the Palestinians' response was to reject it outright. To the Palestinians, the only solution is a solution where the Jewish state ceases to exist. This is not how you resolve a conflict. This is how you ensure more bloodshed, more violence, and many more October 7th. An agreement can be agreed upon only at the negotiating table, not by forcing it unilaterally here in New York. The UN has been sabotaging peace in the Middle East for years, but today marks the beginning of a point of no return. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions. Please remember to introduce yourself and the outlet you're from. Start with Edward.
Yeah, Ambassador Xu Dezhi with China Central Television.
Where from?
China Central Television, Xu Dezhi. Just a question. Just now in the GA hall, you said now UN is a disgrace, a shame, a total bankruptcy of a moral bankruptcy. Has you considered to leave UN or have some coming more actions on this?
No, we're not considering to leave the UN because then the situation will be worse because all the lies that are being spread here against Israel, the anti-Israel majority, as we all know, there's a group of almost 1/3 of UN member states who are Muslim countries that stands always in solidarity with the Palestinians, and it doesn't matter what are the circumstances. We know that vast majority of member states are non-democratic, so we have different values, and when our values are being questioned, and when so many lies are being spread against us, and we are being held to different standards that any other country here, and I don't want to elaborate on these standards. It's easier to do it when you represent a tiny country like Israel. So I will be here in order to shatter the lies and the double standards and expose the truth. That's why it's important for us to stay here.
Miriam Ramadi with Iran International. After Damascus attack, Iran said, the Iranian regime, that they are after revenge. In case of Iran seeking revenge, what would be Israel's response, and also the impacts of this revenge on the conflict and also on the region?
I do not mean to refer to the things that happened or did not happen in Damascus. This is not our formal policy. I can only say that we all know that Iran publicly calls for the annihilation of the state of Israel. It's unfathomable to see a member state here at the UN calling for the destruction of another member state. So therefore, we are preparing ourselves to defend ourselves, and we will do everything that is needed to defend our people. By the way, it's not a secret that Iran has been arming, funding, training all of its terrorist proxies in the Middle East, like Hezbollah, like Hamas, like Palestinian Islamic Jihad, like the Houthis. And I hope that the world would see what happened after October 7th and would understand that if Iran is not stopped, it might wreak havoc on the Middle East and endanger the future of the whole world. Iran is the biggest danger to the future of the civilized world and to the entire world.
Ambassador Erdan, there have been media reports lately that the U.S. is working with President Abbas to reform the pay-for-slay policy. President Abbas has said on multiple occasions that he would spend his last penny, if need be, on these terror payments. Do you think these talks of reform are substantive? Do you have any insight into what's being discussed?
We are grateful to everything that the American administration has been doing to support peace and security in our region. Unfortunately, personally, I'm not sure that it can be changed, because not only that I heard, like you, I heard President Abbas saying for so many times that if he has only one last penny, he will spend it on incentivizing the Palestinian terrorists. I was personally involved in such discussions, and I saw no intention from the Palestinian Authority to change their pay-for-slay policy, which I quoted in order to prove why they are the opposite of a peace-loving entity. So I'm quite skeptical regarding your question.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. מי רוצה?